Hi, gang. Welcome again to Get Help Hangouts. My name is Trevor Beck, one of your hosts here. And Get Help Hangouts is an opportunity for us to do some professional development with Google for Education certified trainers. So there's a number of us from around the world that come together. We have a Google group where we do a lot of chatting and stuff. But this is a chance for the show to basically pick up what's been announced over the last couple of weeks and stuff, give you some tips and tricks and stuff. And today we're going to talk about year-end cleanup. So how do you get your stuff organized? How do you get rid of your files, or what do you do with your files with your students and with classrooms specifically? Joining me, of course, are my co-hosts, I guess. We'll start with Nick there. Nick, do you want to say something?
I'm Nick Cusimano, Director of Instructional Technology for the Fort Zumwalt School District in the St. Louis metro area. Google trainer and other Google fun stuff, and excited that it is the end of the school year. Summer school's just starting. A slight breath, recharge, and get to plan lots of PD for the summer, and hopefully recharge your batteries a little bit for the next school year.
Excellent. And joining us with some technical difficulties, we're going to try and push through, though, is Allison.
Okay.
We heard okay. That was about it. Do you want to try one more time? Nope, that didn't come through at all. Okay, so Allison's going to try popping in and out. There's potentially some network connection issues in the area that she's living in. So hopefully those will clear up by the time we get to her section of the presentation. So what we're doing today is we're going to talk about year-end stuff. If you have any questions, this is where you're going to be doing your questions. We've actually got a live chat running right now in the YouTube channel. So if you want to chat from in there with other people, by all means, go ahead. But any questions that we're going to be addressing, we're going to be addressing them through the Q&A tool here. So you'll need to open up another tab or window, and you put in goo.gl/slides/TKQGCD, which is nice that for once it's all lowercase. Usually it's a mix and match of things. So that's where we're at now. Allison, I tried to mute you, but it's not allowing me to. Do you mind just doing a quick mute there? And let's hope that's done. So yeah, there's the link there as we talked about before. If you want to get in show notes where we have all the information we're talking about, as well as links to what we're talking about, there's the URLs that we're going to be using. So bit.ly/gethelphangouts. That actually will take you to our website that has our calendar on it. It has all the streams of all our past shows. And if you want links to bit.ly/gethelp show notes, that's going to be all our show notes with the links and stuff of whatever we're going to be talking about today. As I mentioned before, Get Help Hangouts is geared towards Google certified trainers. So if you are interested in being a Google certified trainer, there's the link here. You can also just do a Google search for Google certified trainer. If you're not at the trainer level, also take a look for Google certified educators. That's the levels before the trainer, and that's who the trainers are basically teaching, is the educator level. So on our agenda today, we're going to look at what's new, some of the announcements that have happened in there. We're then going to turn over to our feature presentation, which is going to be what do you do with your files at the end of the year. And then I don't think we're going to be doing a random share or a shout out this week, but we'll see if anyone's got anything prepared. So let's start with what's new with Google. Some really cool things are coming down the pipe or are in the process of being moved over. The first one is the Drive GUI, so the Google Uniform Interface. Basically, if you take a look at Google Drive right now, what you should be seeing is some of the icons are being moving around a little bit. They put the Google logo on the left, some other things on the right. They've also got some new fonts. So if you want to find out more on that, there's a link that's available in there. Google confidential mode that is for Gmail that's been announced. They're going to be talking about how to define the rules and decide what is confidential and what that information is going to be, where it's going to be held. And you can get information on that there. Really exciting for anyone doing any expeditions is now we can create our own expedition. So the tour creator is available as a tool there. Has either of you guys had a chance to play with that tool yet? Nick, have you? You're muted there. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have not been able to play with the tour part, eagerly awaiting to, but I think that just got released yesterday or last week. I did get to play around. I am lucky enough to have the Pixel 2, and lucky me, I also have a work phone, which is the iPhone 7, and I got to play around with the Google Expeditions AR. And that was really cool, showing people, the moon in the middle of the room and the Earth's core and Leonardo da Vinci's helicopter and those type of things. And that was lots of fun to experiment with.
Right, and the AR for anyone else is the artificial reality. So basically, it's putting stuff in your augmented reality. So not artificial, augmented, and it's putting those elements right in your room, in your classroom, to walk around like it's pretty cool stuff. So we're also looking. Let's take a look at what else we have. The smarter quizzes in Google Forms. There's some new additions there that you may want to check out. How to enable Gmail's new offline mode. That's for anyone that has switched over to the new version of Gmail, which I think is going to be pushed to be mandatory in the next month or so. But if you've already gone ahead and done that, and we talked a bit about that last week, you can now have the offline stuff, and you can choose how many messages or how much time, I believe it is, that Google will download onto your computer. Because if you're like me, where you've got 3,000 or 4,000 messages, you don't want to put everything down there. So I think you can do things like give me the last 10 days worth or something like that. In addition, Gmail's Smart Compose has been released. It's an artificial intelligence part that you can automatically have Google, as you're typing, not to just do predictive text or predictive messaging, but within the context of what you're doing, taking a look at what you've written in the past. So it will go ahead and be able to do that for you. Now, that's part of the experimental Gmail features. We've actually got a bullet point down a couple about that. You need to turn that on manually yourself. You can't just go in and expect it to be there. But when you do that, you just start typing. Google will suggest a couple of words, and then you just hit tab, and it'll finish filling out whatever it suggested, which is kind of cool. Gmail will also now remind you to respond. So if somewhere in your messages you've indicated or someone has said you need to do this by a certain deadline, that artificial intelligence will put a little note up in the corner saying, hey, you know what, you need to act on this deadline here. I just talked about the experimental Gmail features, so there'll be more rolling out. Right now, it's just the Smart Compose, but to turn it on, you can go take a look at that link. Jamboard, for the Jamboard users out there, you now have white as a color for your brush, and you can use some Bluetooth conferencing instead of trying to do everything through a network. So that should be pretty exciting for anyone that's got a Jamboard to play with, which is not me yet. Really exciting stuff. Copy sites finally has been released, so you now can take an existing site and duplicate it. That's not the same thing as the tool that you could do where you would create a number of sites for your students based on one template. That nothing's been released for that yet, but at least now you can go in and just duplicate the site. There's in Google Calendar, if you decide that you're going to change the meeting details, there's an option for you to include a message when it lets everyone know about the change. And Google has started doing the migrating for the G Suite domains to the new Hangouts Meet. So you'll know if you're like my area, the university here, we're actually making use of Google Hangouts right to the bitter end. But what'll happen is if you go into Calendar, it's going to already start populating with Meets instead of Google Hangouts. And then at some point in the next month or so, everything gets moved over to Hangouts Meet. And again, we talked a bit about that last week. And Google Expedition AR, Nick just talked about that. Was that the same thing you were going to talk about, Nick?
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Which is really exciting, and we almost got a chance to be a part of the pilot program, except it was the last week of school, and I couldn't get a school to commit.
No.
because I couldn't get 300 kids all at the same time to be able to join.
Oh, that hurts because I'm sure you were excited to try it
Yeah,
out.
I totally wanted them to be able to join and be a part of it, but it just wasn't in the cards
Yeah.
time-wise.
Okay, and that's pretty much our what's new stuff. So now we're going to go and take a look at our featured topic here, which is going to be our
Can you guys hear me? You can't hear me.
Yes, we can.
Oh, you
yes.
can. Okay. All right. Well,
So
thank goodness for those Acer Chromebooks. All right. I'm here, just so you know.
Okay, excellent. And Allison actually is going to be running this section of the thing. Do you need me to screen share still, or are you going to be able to take care of that yourself?
I think if you screen share, my video won't take over.
The slides? Okay.
Yeah, if you can keep those as the presentation.
Sure thing. So, all right, so we're screen sharing, and it's up to you now.
Yeah. All right. Well, forward when I and this at all. It's the end of the year, and everybody's getting excited about heading off to and getting out of school.
No! And we lost her again. No. Okay. Oh, one more time. We'll try.
Maybe I should share the screen.
Oh, I don't think you would see Allison even joining in at all. Okay. So I think what Allison was going to try and do, because she's completely frozen, so that obviously means there's something wrong with her internet, is so as we're starting to wrap the end of the school year, there's a couple of things that or three things you're going to need to do. First one, it's going to look at your classroom cleanup. The other thing, so that's the classroom, the application, right? So there's lots of things that you need to do as you work with that. The other thing is for students who are now leaving the school, or for example, I'm at a university and when people graduate, they're gone. The question is what happens with that data when they're leaving the institution or leaving the school completely? So we can talk a bit about the end of year drive from, or end of year, what do you do with your Google Drive and your Gmail migration option? So what's available there? Allison, you're back?
Yep. I'm just having a great time today on the internet.
Okay. I just went over the three topics there. So why don't we go on to the first topic here, end of your classroom. So go ahead.
So we came to the consensus that really at the end of the year, here are some of the key things that everyone agrees on. For Google Classroom, before you do anything, return all the student work. Because when you are in charge of that classroom and they submit work, until you return it, you don't have to grade it, but until you return it, you own it. So if you get rid of your folder or do anything with your classroom, like delete it, that work will disappear for that student. So step one, return all student work. That seems to be agreed upon. Second is, should I delete students? What do I do about this? You can unenroll them. Once you return their work, they're going to retain that folder of work. So it's okay to unenroll them. Many teachers ask if they should just unenroll students and reuse the same course year to year. Consensus from the Google Education trainer community seemingly is, don't reuse the same class year after year, but archive it and then reuse posts. And I know from experience that that's my preference as well, is archive the course and then reuse the posts. The other thing you can do is you can create kind of like a course template and have that be something you never change, you never actually have people in there doing anything, and you keep that handy to pull assignments from all the time. Archive, don't delete classes. You can always unarchive a class. Make an archive classes folder is a great tip too. And I think all the folks that we're going to reference on the next slide have mentioned this. If you are in your classroom folder in Google Drive, it's going to get really messy because you're going to create a number of classes. Some will be real classes, some will be trial and error. So you're going to end up with a pretty busy classroom folder. And if you're not going to be using those classes anymore actively, you can just create an archive folder in your classroom folder and move all the classes you're no longer using into that, so that when you open that classroom folder, you only see the classes that you are currently teaching. And I think that's a great tip as well. And then finally, with the opportunity comes a little chaos. When Google Calendar was integrated with Classroom, a lot of folks still don't realize that when they make that first assignment with a due date, it makes the calendar for them in their calendar. So if you have several classes that you're no longer using, your calendar list in Google Calendar will get huge. So it's a great idea to just hide those. You go into Calendar, you hover over the calendar name, and on the drop down, there's an option to hide it. So hiding it is fine. You don't have to delete any of those calendars. You can, if it really bothers you, but hiding them gets them off the list. And then if you ever need to go back to them, you could. So
Allison,
that's right. Yeah.
Allison, quick question. When you archive your classroom, does the calendar, anything happen to the calendar, or it just stays there? It gets created, but it's still separate.
So the calendar that ends up in your calendars will stay. So you want to go in and find it and hide it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right, so next slide has the resource roundup. So sharing a few links from a few folks. If you go into the slide deck, the resource roundup has Alice Keeler's post on 3 tips for end of the year with Classroom. Judkins has a wonderful blog post on wrapping it up with Classroom. Share end of the year cleanup in classrooms shared by Ryan. I think it's McConnell. I'm sorry, Ryan. I didn't carry your last name over. And 6 end of the year class cleanup tips shared by Eric Hertz. And we all know those are very thorough and organized, and probably the 6 top ones you want to pay attention to. So thanks to everyone that contributes online, either in the Google Education Resource Center or just sharing online. These are great resources. I encourage you to check them out. Okay, so the next piece of this is Google Takeout, or what to do when staff leave, what to do about graduation. And there's a lot of, not conflicting information, but a lot of opinions on what works best. And I haven't had luck with this, and we do it this way, and we do it that way, all of which seemingly work. So it depends on, you take what's out there and you make it work for you. One of the great things about the Google for Education trainer community is that a discussion will start, and then a number of resources are shared. So I have my own little mini older video with no sound that's on the slide deck, but we'll talk a little bit about Google Takeout. Google Takeout / Google Transfer. It has to be enabled in your domain, and you can't use it if there's any drive restrictions. So some folks have had to work around that and come up with their own version of how do students take their stuff with them. What I wouldn't worry so much about is spending a lot of time worrying about this. You have to remember that we're very hyper focused on what we do in schools, but in the real world, the kids really don't use that stuff much after they graduate. And it's great that they have it, but our high schools and even our private and public schools are having students in high school put portfolio artifacts in Naviance, or an alternative, guidance type portal that is connected with colleges and universities where they apply to. So that's the stuff that they really need to have, and that is something they have access to. I would encourage you to get your students, especially starting in 9th grade, to put artifacts they're going to care about in a single folder. Like this is my graduation folder, and then download it as a zip file and move along. I would venture to guess that 85% of high school students do not need to archive or take their emails and everything with them. They probably don't. So you don't have to overthink it. You can give them the option and show them Google Takeout or Transfer. There's a copy folder Chrome add-on, and there's a Google Migrator add-on. But is it an add-on? Yeah. Drive Migrator?
That would have to be an add-on, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a Chrome extension. It could be a Chrome app. Anyway, there's links to all of them on the next slide. So I would say first go to Google's resource on takeout. So I put the link right there. So just if you Google it, Google takeout, you can go and read exactly how you use it, which is in your account settings. You just go to your account settings and you go to take it with you, and it will download it very similarly to the way it would work if you downloaded the folder as a zip file. When you download forms via takeout or via zip file, they don't re-upload into another Google Drive as a form. So like there's going to be the same flaws in that transfer. And there are some restrictions as well when you use things like Google Takeout, thinking that you're going to, let's say, take all the files that are shared with you. If somebody put restrictions on the file, like check the box at the bottom where that you can't make a copy of it or download it, that's not going to be copied over. And if you have things shared with you, but you haven't put them in your drive, they will not go with that either. So you just have to make sure that A, everything that you want to take with you is in your Google Drive. And B, you just have to understand that some of those things, unless you make a copy of a doc, that that you want to have ownership of, or you want to remove all the other people from, there's going to be certain restrictions on what you get when you move over. With that being said, it's something we shouldn't overthink. If somebody's really heck bent on they have to have every single document in every file, they're that type of person that's going to try every single option on their own and independently get it done the best way they see possible. The random person that says, gee, I'd really like to take my folder with me because there might be a few docs in there sometime that I could reuse in my new job. Those are the people that with a few sets of directions, they're going to be happy with the in-between. All right. So I don't mean to belabor it, but I just wanted to have that conversation with myself. So what do you guys, weigh in on that?
I just want to touch a little bit on, I think you've covered the student end really well. Mm-hmm. So retirees is a whole nother ball of wax. Sometimes you have a chain of command or like the curriculum coordinators, all that. And once you hit past 90 days, then Google accounts, once they've been deleted, that data has gone into ether, never to come back again. So that's where team drives can become your friend. And if you do a little bit with giving permission, so I have this little admin privilege called team drive managers. Mm-hmm. Which then allows them to move folders, because that still hasn't moved out of that on the management end. So then people can move whole folders, and then that moves other people's permission, becomes owned by the domain. And then that's very helpful when someone's retiring. You're like, who owns it? I don't know who created. It's all the districts. It needs to come home. And then it goes to the team drive, and then you can then transfer it back to the, like, let's say the new curriculum coordinator or the new principal or whatever, the person that's replacing that. And that's a helpful way to strip all that. Well, who created, who shared.
Right.
You can use that as a way.
You mentioned deleting accounts, and I always advise my schools.
We hold on to them for 90 days,
oh,
but
is there a reason? Is there a legal? I don't know. Is there a legal reason why they can't just stay disabled? I mean, we have people that leave companies that their accounts just get disabled forever because they could have data in there we need, 3 years from now that we didn't want to transfer.
Or because of our lawyer's advice, because. Okay. Lots of times it's really strange because parents don't get along with each other. This is one of the reasons is they want to get dirt on the other ones, and we're the in-between people, and so they want the copies of emails. So all that then
okay, right to now. All right, I got it. Right
and so we only keep stuff for a year.
Yep. All right, that sounds good. That makes sense.
One of the tricks you can do when you're talking about team drives is when I started, I had all these great documentation I created that I had done with my work account. But I mean, it was stuff that I did personally during my lunch hours and stuff. I just forgot to, sometimes it was easier. This is before I learned how to use Chrome profiles. So a lot of stuff that was personal ended up in my work stuff. But with the team drive, I can create a team drive and I can say, okay, Trevor work is part of this team. I'm going to add Trevor personal, so trevor@gmail.com to this team drive. I'm going to upload all the files into that team drive. And it does show up in my personal Gmail account. And then I can grab them from there and then drag them to my personal drive on my Gmail account. So it actually does the switch around and back down.
Does the Gmail account become owner?
So sorry, say it again?
So does the Gmail account become owner the minute you drag it out of team drives into your Gmail account?
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, it's no different than
that way on your domain.
Yeah, it does the same thing on your domain. The difference is that you're accessing it with a personal Gmail account. So now as soon as if I have that owner rights to it, that means I can move stuff out of the folder. It just happens to be into Trevor's personal folder. So that's another way of putting stuff up and then moving it around if you don't want to do Google takeout or transfer to get all that stuff done.
Right. I think the other question people always have is about portfolios and Google Sites and how, that sort of thing. And I think we need to get away from, in general, just making it so it's so complicated later. You know what I mean? Like you just summarize transfer using team drives that simply. So if we get the kids and the students in the mindset of, hey, you might want to have a portfolio when you leave high school, we should encourage them to make a Gmail account and make their Google site with their Gmail account, or to be fair, give them a variety of tools to choose from that will allow them to make the website of choice, even if you're a Google Apps school, and show them and teach them how to even make their own domain name. So when they leave, they've already started their CV or their resume online. And that is the best favor we could do for them. And then
start doing that for junior or senior year.
And then that particular site, if it has any school documents or slides or anything like that are showcased there, even a resume that they created in their business class or in career skills, those could be the documents that they put in their portfolio folder, and it goes in the team drive and then boom over to Gmail or later. So even though you're a Google school, you could say, hey, you don't have to use a Google site, but if you're going to make this Gmail account for later, you might as well, but you could also make something else. It's up to you. You can hand code your own site. But then it's as simple as just make sure your portfolio artifacts that are on your website get transferred to your Gmail account. And we'll be doing them a favor too by showing them they don't want to carry a bunch of useless files with them, because I know all of us, anybody who watches this broadcast knows that they have countless folders and files that they'll never be able to clean up because who has that kind of time? Right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. How many untitled documents do you have in your folder?
Right. So, helping them be able to organize each year and say, what are the 10 things you want out of your freshman year? Put it in your folder, put it in your folder, put it in your folder. For us to manage like this portfolio for just our assessment for high school, I think we would be much better served to have it be something that they can actually use and build in their lifetime as young adults, because they might leave high school and in a year be an independent contractor.
Yeah, good point. So you had some resources here that did you want to go over those at all?
Yeah. So again, we have a couple of repeats because some folks like the end of the year clean up. But Jen Judkins has a really nice comprehensive post on take out Google Drive and Gmail. So she breaks it down a little bit. move email without takeout. Hunter McConnell, I think he's from Texas, shared in a dialogue on the Google Education Trainer a couple of PDFs because they like have everything shut down. So he created a how-to sheet for teachers and students on how to get around that if they want to take things with them. So if you're in that situation and you're looking for something to like use or build from, those are available and shared. Copy folder add-on was mentioned by Paul Carpenter, which it just allows you to make a copy and transfer the permissions. I've used Drive Migrator myself for a couple domains I've had to leave, and it worked like a charm, and it's fast and easy. I've also used Google Takeout with one domain, and that was fine. I was happy with that.
Migrator, Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, does Migrator make copies of the original files, or does it actually migrate like the transfer piece?
So basically how it works, and don't quote me exactly, but you get the URL, you put everything in a folder in your Drive that you're going to want in your Gmail account, and you get a URL for that. Then you go to your Gmail account and you install the Drive Migrator add-on or Chrome app, whatever it is. So you get that, and then you run it, and it says what's the URL, you paste it in, and it basically makes a copy of your entire folder, the contents, and makes you the owner. And it actually works pretty well with shared files, just saying. Oh,
that's the important part. Okay.
I've made jokes about, shh, don't tell the admin. And I haven't heard of Molt Cloud, but I checked it out. It has a free version. Paul Swanson mentioned it, and it's like a migration, like managing several cloud accounts. So that was interesting. I couldn't find the how-to for teachers shared by that person, so we can just skip that. 3 options for students. Aaron Hines made a nice video. He's like, hey, students, there's 3 options for, taking your stuff with you. So that's a good video. That might be fun if it works for you. And then Samantha Vardanega has a 3-part series blog post on how to transfer everything. So there's a breakdown of the highlights of things that are shared most recently on the listserv and online. And on the next slide, I think there's a link to the discussion on this. So the Google Takeout and Alternatives end of the year prep. If you click on that link, it will bring you to the forum. And the Google Takeout and Alternatives is the message thread. So if you even just Googled that, you'd find it. Please go ahead and continue the conversation by adding your resources. The ones I just mentioned, I pulled from here and then from a couple of other places, including the Shared Resource Center. But you can find more, and maybe you have something you want to share. This would be a good place to contribute what you're doing in your school.
And just so people who are watching this know, this is actually a closed off groups for Google certified trainers. So it's one of the benefits of after you get your certification, you get part of that membership of that group. And it's such a wonderful resource because there is so much going on all the time. And lots of, you ask questions and there's lots of archive stuff. So anytime you need to go and find an answer, guaranteed someone's already asked the question. So you don't, you can just search through this wonderful database, and as new stuff comes up, you've got a whole resource of people to talk to. Okay, that seems to be the end of that part. Nick, any follow-up comments?
I shared somewhere in the slides, or you might have to hit refresh, what for my district, takeout and transfer. And transfer is also helpful if you're having people switching jobs, because they can put together a folder and transfer that over type thing. And Allison did a great job of covering all those different options. And I think that's all I got.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything in the slide, but we'll update the slide. So if you're watching the video, there will be a link to the slides as well as the show notes in the bottom in our comments in here. And as a reminder, the chat only works while we're broadcasting. So if if you're watching this as an archive, the chat's not going to work. The question tool is not going to work. However, down in the bottom, leave comments. That comes back. Anything as far as a quick pick or anything like that? Do you guys have anything you want to highlight?
I have one thing.
Okay.
You know that Google Quick Draw? We talking about artificial intelligence and stuff.
Oh yes, yes. Within the
yeah, like a lot of people just see Quick Draw and they're like, oh, that Quick Draw is so cute. And then they Google it and they play with it, and that's cool. I just thought you guys might have fun. I know a lot of you like to play around and share new things. It's really, you can find it on the website called experiments.withgoogle.com. I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, but that's where you can find it. Like, it's under AI experiments. And then if you go down, there is the Quick Draw somewhere on this. There it is, the Google Quick Draw. But there's other things there too. I was playing around with one that geometrifies your photos. And then there's like, this is the teachable machine, but this is the artificial intelligence lab, or like the experiments with AI. And they have music, web VR, Android experiments, Chrome experiments. So this could be a great place for you to defer your students to, who are looking to kind of level up and experience some fun, innovative stuff that people are tooling around with. So just thought I'd just let you know that's there.
That's great.
I just did have an exciting share. So in my district for the middle school level, we had a Google for Doodle winner. And so
which one?
It looked like a submarine.
I voted on. I voted it for in all the categories. I don't remember my votes, but
so on June 4th or 5th, we find out who the 5 finalists are. So I'm very excited for our winner from DeBray Middle School. So hopefully she will be one of the 5 finalists. Because if she wins, we win too. So I'm very excited.
That's great. Congratulations to her.
So we'll just have to wait and see if she is a finalist. And they came out. They had a whole fun, exciting thing, whole assembly. All kids had Google T-shirts. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there. It was while I was out of town. But lots of exciting stuff that happened. So encourage your students to participate, because you never know, you might be a winner and your district might be a winner too.
Cool.
Excellent. Thanks very much. That's pretty much it, guys. So if you have any questions, as I mentioned before, put them in the comments and we will try and get back to you. Next episode, we're actually going to push it back. It was supposed to be end of June. We're going to be doing the first week in July. I believe it's the 7th. I'll update the calendar in the next couple of days to make sure of that, because ISTE is happening at the end of the year. ISTE is this huge technology and education conference. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there are 20,000 participants coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many hundreds of presentations and stuff. This will be my first one, and I'm already freaking out. Oh, I can't. I don't even know where I'm going to do. I'm already dazed on that.
Actually, Trevor and I think we've known each other 5 or 6 years. We've never met face to face. We actually get to meet face to face finally.
There will be a hug involved, just so you know, okay?
Yeah. So we actually get to meet face to face at ISTE in in under a month. So that's pretty exciting.
So what we're going to do then is, after the ISTE, we're going to take a couple of days to regroup, and then we will do a hangout in the early part of July and talk about all the announcements. Google's going to be doing announcements, Microsoft, something, everyone's doing announcements. So there'll be lots of cool things happening. So hopefully we'll see you guys in July. Other than that, time to say goodbye, guys.
Yep. And congratulations to Ryan Clark, who was a guest last month. He is now he's a LAX 18 innovator, and lots of other trainers who just became LAX 18 innovators. Congratulations to them.
Excellent. Great. All right. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you later.